Hello, I'm Cookie Stoner, and welcome to Cookie Stoner Presents. I am still here with my friend Barry Sublett, and thank you for being on our Coming Out series,
You're welcome.
Barry. In our last segment, we talked about when you knew, and as you said, and I'll tell you, I've interviewed a lot of people and known a lot of people over the years, and that's been the story, is they always knew something when they were children, as a child. And, the pain that you went through as, here you are, born in, I think in 61, understanding when you are, 8 years old, when you, as you said, you went through high school still knowing that, that didn't change. You marry a lady, she figured it out. Nothing changed even during that, and that's what a lot of people did. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. What is expected?
But I denied to her that I was.
But you
I just
still
kept saying
denied
I'm not.
to her. But and that's the whole thing, the denial of who you were. Mm-hmm. And then, as you said, you had your coming out to your parents after having to go spend the most wonderful 9 or 10 days in the psychiatric ward, because that was when you got to be who you were. You had a psychiatrist or a therapist tell you, this is who you are. Mm-hmm. I mean, you cannot help this. And that's when you learn to accept yourself.
And it was a big burden lifted off.
Of course.
Not fully, but...
But just imagine, and then to know that you've got to tell your parents that struggle with that, you thought it was going to be your dad and your mom would be okay, and then it turned out that your dad, looked at you in the eye, he loves you. Your mom, your mom loves you, because I know your mom, but she just still couldn't reconcile it and understand it. Well, then you had a second coming out story.
Yes.
And I remember that well, even though it was just very organic, but I do remember having the conversation with you back in March of 2017, when you are still a 56-year-old man, 55 before you turn 56-year-old man, being afraid to let people know, even though you knew who you were, you're about to marry, Tim, someone you love very much, that y'all been committed to, and you were still I think I posted, and you're like, Cookie, I'm not ready for that yet. And so you just did a picture of, you all. And so that was kind of your second part of the second coming out story.
Over the years, between the time I told my parents and March,
which was 20-something years to keep
knew,
that. Yeah.
I mean, they figured it out.
Yeah.
They never asked me, but I knew they knew.
Right.
And all of that time, pretty much all of my life, I was not happy. Just felt like there was something missing. And some bizarre things began to happen in 2014 that I can't explain. Other than I do believe somebody hacked into my Wi-Fi and also into my cell phone, because certain things were said to me by people at church and by people at my other job, that there's no way that they could have known those things had they not been able to see my text or read my emails or maybe even listen to what was going on in my house. I know that sounds weird, but it honestly happened.
Well, and that's something that we're talking about. You and I both talked about. We don't ever want anyone to feel like they were coming across as victims, but discrimination really does happen. And when people are threatened, and they may want you out of a job or out, which is something that we will get to about the discrimination part that you're getting to, is that sometimes people feel like they have to have proof of something. As you said, you never even used the word like, hey, I'm Barry, I'm gay, or you've never even told. It was all assumption on their part. So.
Right. And I finally went to my choir director and said, I was a pianist at this church, and I went to the choir director
21
and I said,
years,
I need
correct?
to talk to you about something. And she said, you don't have to say anything, I know. And everyone in the choir knows, and we love you nonetheless. Wow. Which was wonderful news for me to hear.
Love and acceptance.
And I felt a burden lifted off me then. But still, I was unhappy. I don't know how to explain it. And I thought, I'm unlovable. I'm not capable of loving anybody. I'm going to spend the rest of my life alone. I'm going to die alone, which was my biggest fear. And then out of the blue, today's October 18th, right?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think it is, yeah.
2 years ago today,
Wow.
Tim, whom I had met in 2014, he had called me 3 days earlier. We had not spoken since the day he went back to Maryland. Called me out of the blue and said, is it okay if I come and live with you for a little while? And I had to think about that for a while. Why? I haven't spoken to you in 2 years. Why do you want to move to Alabama? What's going on with you? And he had some issues that he had sought help for and was told, you're not going to be able to live your life like you want to or get yourself established again as long as you're living with your parents who can enable you. And so he decided on his own, I've got to make a change. And I asked him, I said, why me? You've got friends there. Why do you want to move? He said, I've got to get away from them. I've got to make a totally fresh start.
So you're basically a safe friend.
Yeah,
it all
right.
started just as a safe friendship.
And he moved to Alabama 2 years ago today. And from October of that year to maybe June of the next year, we began to, our relationship changed from being friends to realizing that we had feelings for each other. And he dropped a hint 2 or 3 times about marriage, which was something I never thought I would do. Marry a man, that is. But one night I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah, I'm absolutely serious. And so I asked him if he would marry me, and he said he would. And for the first time in my life, I felt happiness.
Oh, Barry, that just,
Because
I can see that in your eyes too, and I know that.
he saved my life, because I don't know that I could have continued living like I was living, being so unhappy. And he says I saved his life because I welcomed him into my home. And he has totally turned his life around. He has a job now.
Oh, I know. He's
not
fabulous.
drinking anymore.
Yes.
His faith has been restored because he said he had abandoned God years ago because of some circumstances, but because of my...
Well, you have a strong faith, Barry.
Yes.
You have a very strong faith.
Demonstration of it. He
Yes,
began
I know
to
you
believe
do.
again. And anyway, we told my mother and my sister, my dad died in 2009, but we told my mother and my sister on my 55th birthday that we were getting married. And again, my mother had the reaction that I knew she would have. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And Tim, I have nothing against you. I just don't understand it. And I said, Mama, I don't understand it either. But yes, this is what we want to do. And it was kind of funny because she said, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, I want you to be there. I want you to wear a nice dress. I want you to have a smile on your face. And if you can't be happy for yourself, be happy for me. That's what I want from you. And she did.
She was lovely. She was really lovely.
We had initially planned just a very private wedding, but I went to a very good friend's wedding in August of 16, and somehow people there had found out about it, and oh, we want to be invited. Are we going to get an invitation? We will be there. And I thought, well, how am I going to tell my sister that our guest list, because it was
growing,
is going to grow from 20, and I couldn't do that. So we began to plan. I said, Tim, you've never been married. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. If not for me, but for you. And so the wedding guest list grew from 20 to 80.
Oh, it did. And you had a lovely, I mean, it was.
And I don't understand how people have all these issues with planning a wedding. I had everything settled and done in 3 weeks.
Well, that's because, I'll tell you too, you are a very organized, you know what you want, and of course I've always loved you and you're very kind. Even though you're a friend of mine, I was like, yes sir, we're doing it this way. That's right, we're doing it, And you know what's so fun too is we actually met 2 wonderful friends that we still keep in contact with Darren and Brian in Atlanta. And when I was in Atlanta, we communicated, we're going to try to get together and we do plans. So do you see how something, your love and your demonstration of it and bringing those friends together, all these people who love you guys, then you make other friendships.
Yeah, and we did the bridesmaids and the groomsmen.
Oh,
and all
y'all,
that.
you
And I know
had
this will write gay all over my face, but I directed the Miss Point Mallard pageant
Of
for
course.
8 years, which
Yeah.
is a preliminary to Miss
Yes,
Alabama,
yes.
and so I began to have very good friendships with the girls who won, and they always said that they were the daughters that I would never have.
Oh,
because
man, they
I
loved
loved
you.
them, and
Yes.
they loved me,
They
and
did.
so 3 of them, plus my sister, were the bridesmaids,
Yes,
and
they
then
were.
2 very good friends of both mine and Tim were a part of it, and then someone he works with was a part of it, and my brother-in-law was a part of it.
Yes.
And I remember telling the wedding party that they would never know how much it meant to me and how I appreciated them being there and being accepting of me and loving me. And told the story about how I felt for years that I was going to be condemned to hell. And Katie Malone Hannah, who was a bridesmaid, began to shake her head, and she said, "No, God's not like that."
That's
and
right.
I said, "Yeah, I know that now." And so Tim and I were standing there waiting to walk down the grass. It
Right, the grass.
because
It was beautiful
outside.
aisle, though. It was beautiful. At the
We were holding
Wheaton
hands,
House,
and
yes.
I said, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And he said, "Absolutely," and we did it.
Y'all did it.
And we wrote our own vows, and
Yes, they were
if
beautiful.
I
And
can
I've got
say-
I know you're like, you keep going, I need those vows. I think I have them in an email.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got that.
But part of my vows were, at a time when I felt unlovable and incapable of loving, you came into my life again. And then I quoted the song "For Good from Wicked"
Yes.
about, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason. And he did.
That's right.
And I remember when you pronounced us, at that moment, I felt really happy. And free. I mean, I had
Happy
pledged
and
it to
free.
80 people, and when I turned around, looked at my mother, she gave me that look, but then she smiled, and it was, she accepted it. And,
And
That's
here
what
you are,
happened.
and you're happy. You're not you're not ashamed. You have the person you love, and to be happy and free is exactly what you deserve. And I'm over here going, how did I get so lucky to be part of your life, that I got to be there, and that I get to be here, and that you're sharing this with us to show people this is a godly man. And I know that because I know.
I told you Christ had to be included.
I know
in
you
it.
told me, because I will tell you, that's what I do. And I do have that. I've got my text, and when we were talking about that, I have a lot of ceremonies I do, and a lot of them are secular, or I let people do whatever they want and right. And you said, God and Christ will be a part.
It has to be. a part of it.
You didn't say. You said it has to be. That's exactly, and that's what I'm
And
talking
I told
about.
you also, if it's not, we're not doing it.
That's right. No, you did. No, you did. And it was. You're exactly right, because that was something that was so important. And, that meant a lot to me, because I have so many wonderful friends. That's what's so important is, I accept all, and I do. I accept all religions, and as I know you do. I accept all walks, faiths, beliefs, because that's not even for me. But a lot of times the hang up, and for Christians, is that in the Christian community, as you said, what she's against you. And we are going to have, I told you, a licensed professional counselor who will be one of our guests at a certain time. I think she's going to try to do a FaceTime interview today, depending upon her conference schedule. But to talk about the members of the LGBT community whom she counsels, and their families, and she does a lot of Christian counseling with them. And we had like a 45-minute conversation the other night, and to hear her Say those things. And then I'm also going to interview this afternoon a gentleman who is a minister who is gay. And that's what is important is, and I've got two wonderful friends. I'll have to do a shout out to Kevin and Jason in Mississippi. And they're wonderful. And they are two of the most loving. I mean, I always say, man, those guys, they're not just involved in their church, they walk the walk. Love Christ, walk the walk, and they've been married for several years. And, that's what we want people to know is, if you don't understand it, that's okay. But don't try to spread your ideas, your hate. And if you even think that that's what, you've got to pull that out of the Bible, then, just quit spreading the hate. Let people love, let people go, because you're able now to spread your love and your faith.
People were so happy and so excited and so accepting, and I told the choir director, who was a very good friend of mine, and she was extremely happy for me. And I don't think she told anybody else, but maybe just some subtle things that I put on Facebook.
Oh, that's right, because you said you had those things happen before.
People began to they asked her, the choir director, not me, is Barry getting married? And they came up to me and said, oh, we're so happy for you. And, it changed how I felt about what people in church would think. I knew everybody wasn't happy about it or wouldn't be happy about it, but I felt like most were until May.
I was just about to say, I think what we'll do is we'll end up that segment, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about discrimination and sort of the paradox of being so happy, whatever, but then you lost a wonderful job you loved. So we'll be right back after this.